Some 800 years after he lived, we find ourselves today remembering the life of St. Dominic. But it can get a little hard to actually get to know him. And that's because Dominic was a very humble man. He never had any intentions of taking on important positions or of getting a lot of wealth. He spent more years as a parish priest in the small town of Frazier than he did at any of his other ministries. And when you read about his life, it seems that there's so many stories of other people that keep on coming in. And it seems almost as if Dominic is pointing to them saying, hey, look how great they are. Dominic never had any intention of becoming great. The way he lived his life was to set out to become quiet and to listen to the call that God was giving him about what he was to do and who he was to become. And who God was calling Dominic to become was a preacher. Now, Dominic wasn't a great preacher because he gave amazing homilies that no one fell asleep during, or because they managed to all pay attention the entire time. He was a great preacher because his entire life was a preaching. The words he spoke and the things that he did were one and the same. At a time when many people were converting at the point of a sword, Dominic approached conversion by listening to people, by asking questions and treating them with respect. Although he disagreed with the Albigensian heresy, he was still willing to have conversations with those who followed the Albigensian beliefs, and he was willing to learn from them. It was from the Albigensians that Dominic was challenged to embrace poverty more, to give up riding on horses, so that he ended up walking all over the south of France and to Rome a couple of times, because he knew that those around him couldn't afford a horse. And he embraced this simplicity so much that at the end of his life, he didn't even have a bed in his own name. Last spring, I attended a retreat on the life of Dominic, and there I was given an invitation to weave my own story with that of Dominic's. And that task begins by listening to the same call that Dominic heard. The call to proclaim the goodness of God and of all creation. The call to make our entire lives a preaching in the same way that Dominic did. And when you realize the largeness of this call, then I at least realized that I could not do this on my own. That we have to rely on God to weave together our life with Dominic's and with all of those who have gone before us, whether the vowed members, lay associates, or the many men and women who have contributed to the mission of the Order of Preachers. Following God's call is a dangerous thing, because you never know quite where it's going to take you. And that's because God's word is alive, because God's word is the person of Jesus Christ, who is always ready to go on another adventure. When Dominic came to the south of France, I don't think he had any idea he was going to end up founding a new religious order. Rather, he did what he had always done before, to follow God and the call that he had been given with each new day. The call still invites us today. Are we ready to listen?